Newyddion sgorec yna, di 7. A geith allan ar radio 5-6 hefyd. A wedyn?
A gyda'r bore yma, di bod yna, o bwysig.
Ie, di bod yn wrach Cymru meddwl.
Ie, mae'n iawn ddysgu ni do.
Ond hac Heddlu enw cynllun fe.
Hac Heddlu, ie. Cofia bydd chydig o bobl sy'n siarad Cymraeg.
Ie, diolch bwys.
Byna i fi wneud rwy'n few minutes.
Neith y prif gwnsl mynd o ddwyieithog, ti'n meddwl?
Dwi'n aman neith o agor efo bore da, swn i'n aman.
Ie, digon teg.
Ond dwi'n mynd i geisio fe.
Na. Just dwi...
Gan i os i di fo'r talu ag yn
Diolch yn edrych sy'n hefyd, dwi wedi bod yn trio syrthu fo. Dwi'n mynd at syrthu digwydd. Na, dio ddim yn... Ia, na fo.
Diolch.
O, wedyn mae'n ti'n cael ôl, dydi?
Wedi aros fyna pryd i fi.
Dyna hwn yn tro fora.
Ie, mae'n iawn, ti'n chwi. A roi 2 munud yn ôl, dwi'n gobeithio gadael Sara i fewn a'r Chief Constables ma'n nhw gyda jyst i fynd.
Eisiau ni gael blaen, ti'n gael gwell llun ar y teledu? Dwi'n ddol?
Ta di gym y sledu bwysicach, dwi'n gwybod.
Ond dwi'n gwybod beth ydych?
O, mae'n gwahaniaeth.
Dwi'n hapus, so peid yn newid yn byd i fi, ond os bach isio...
Cael ffwrs na, cael ffwrs yn iawn a dweud trwy bod o'n iawn.
Bore da, sir.
Bore da, pawb.
Bore da.
Oh, looking good.
Thanks for training us, sir.
We know that sound.
Is sound working and everything at your end?
Yeah, can you hear us all right? Let's see, Fideri, you're at the far end.
Yeah, can you hear me in the back?
Yeah, I can just about see. Yeah, it does not really help as I've got the reflections on the window from behind, which is always a good one.
Okay, well, we'll start in a few minutes by just letting everyone into the waiting room and then we'll let them in one sort of hit. But we thought we'd best check that your tech was working first.
Yeah, well, I generally do the meetings with the MPs on Zoom, so I'm not saying I'm an expert, but it is kind of becoming the second part of my life.
Brilliant. Good stuff. Right, are we ready? We'll start letting people in and we'll probably keep letting people in for a few minutes as we start as well. Yeah?
Perfect.
Barod. That's exciting. Hey. Hello. Bore da. Good morning, everyone. You'll all be joining on mute. If you could leave yourselves on mute, please, that would be very helpful. Os ydych chi'n gadael hyn ar mute, ond croeso I pawb roed eich camera mlaen I ni cael gwelchiad ei hello. Feel free to put your cameras on so we can see all your faces and say hello. We've got people waving hello. We'll start in a few minutes. We'll just give everyone time to enter from the waiting room. Oh, nice to see a few familiar faces and some new faces. Hi, Tony. Hi, Tom. Who have we got? Sarah. Hi, Karen. Hey. There's still a few more coming in, so we'll give them a few minutes. Great. Now ni gychwyn, we'll make a start. So croeso mawr, welcome to the Rural Crime Hack. Very exciting. We'll introduce ourselves first. So I'm Emily Roberts. I'm the Marketing Officer for M-SParc. Got some colleagues with me today.
Bore da pawb. I'm PC Dewi Evans from the Rural Crime Team.
Bore da pawb. Pryderi dwi. Dwi'n rheolwr gyfarwyddwr yma yn Parc Gwyddoniaeth Menai. I'm Pryderi Appreciat, and I'm the Managing Director here at Menai Science Park.
And we've also, you might notice, got a film crew behind us. They don't just follow us around everywhere, they are recording today for the Welsh News. So then you add a newyddion hanner di saith heno. We'll be on SLC 7:30 tonight. So you might make an appearance, so you're going to give your mum a ring and let her know to record that. So I'm going to quickly run through how to use Zoom in case some of you have been living under a rock since March, but I imagine we're all going to be okay today. So you'll notice you're on mute. As I said, please leave yourself on mute when you're not speaking. We'll do the same when you're pitching because inevitably we'll get an interruption otherwise. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a chat function. Feel free to use the chat function to collaborate, to introduce yourselves to people and to give feedback as we go. But to open the event, we are very pleased to introduce the Chief Constable, Carl Folkes. And over to you, Carl. Thank you for being with us today.
Right, so Barada Pal, Carl Folkes dwi, Prif Constable, Heddlu Gogledd Cymru. So good morning all and welcome. I've been described as having a face for radio repeatedly, so I was quite surprised when it said that it was quite good to see people on camera. So I'd like to welcome you all today to the hackathon. It is a partnership between North Wales Police and M-SParc. And I'm sure, like me, you're looking forward to hearing about some fantastic innovation work that is taking place here in North Wales. Since I've been the chief, I've really been clear that I think as an organisation, we do great work, but the more innovative, the more creative we can be and supporting colleagues and partners from across North Wales, it actually has to be the right thing to do going forward. So this is a really genuinely innovative event and that we hope will lead to the introduction of new tools and methods to fight thefts across region and beyond and help make North Wales the safest place in the UK, which is certainly my ambition. The prevention of crime is one of the major priorities for North Wales Police, and the future of Farms Cymru is a unique project led by the Rural Crime Team, which aims to encourage the use of sophisticated security technology on farm to help prevent and solve rural crimes, which is, as I say, a fundamental priority for me and the PCC. Led by Dewi Evans of my Rural Crime Team, it's good to see him there. It's also even better to see him in a mask. We set up demonstrations from the farm network. We've also been invited to share the one already set up by Welsh Government's Farming Connector scheme. And we'll soon be using that network to showcase security technology from different companies and individuals. So the Future Farms Cymru project aims to support and encourage the development of new and innovative solutions to rural crime. It is important to me that this makes its way onto our region's farms and that we all work together to prevent and reduce crime. We have and continue to invest in the Rural Crime Team. They do fantastic work, and I think it's a showcase for North Wales and the support that we get that actually that team is so successful. In addition to the funding from North Wales Police, I would also like to thank the sponsors, M-SParc, the North Wales Police and Community Trust, the Office of the Police and Crime Commissioner, the Farmers Union of Wales and the National Farmers Union. So I'm looking forward to seeing the pictures that I made this morning, and I wish you the very best of luck to all contestants. I'll hand over to Emily now from M-SParc and PC Dewi Evans from my Rural Crime Team, who will lead in today's proceedings. So diolch yn fawr and good luck to you all.
Diolch yn fawr, thank you, sir. And congratulations to you as well on recently getting the Queen's Police Medal. Yeah,
I'm convinced that we'll be doing that via Zoom as well, which my wife is deeply upset about because I've told her she can't have a frock or a hat.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. So I'll briefly go through the structure of the day, although I'm sure you're all aware and ready. We've got about 15 pitches today. Everyone who's pitching is going to have 2 minutes. I will time you to make your pitch. After the 2 minutes, I will kindly ask you to stop. Your time is up, and we will ask any questions that we may have. If we don't ask you a question, don't worry. That just means you've been very clear and you've clarified everything we need to know in the pitch. So don't worry about that. Towards the end, then, we will put ourselves on mute and we will be judging who we want to take through to discuss taking that idea forward. So you will hear live. We're going to do the whole event X Factor style in one day. I will now hand you over to Dewi, who's going to remind us what the crimes are that we're fighting today and what the prizes are as well.
Hello, Barada. So, Future Farms Cymru had a long think about which problems to select for today. So we've decided to choose 3 which are significant issues in North Wales. The police do have success regularly in catching people responsible for these types of crime. But despite our successes in putting people behind bars in relation to them, the problems persist and too many still go unsolved. So we hope that by tapping into your expertise this morning, we will have new tools and methods available to us to help solve these problems. So the 3 problems are, as a reminder, the burglary of outbuildings. In other words, theft from sheds, agricultural buildings, places that are far away from the homestead. The second one is the theft of quad bikes, a significant issue, not just in North Wales, of course, but further afield as well. And the third problem we've selected is the theft of outboard motors. In other words, the theft of motors from boats. And there is a cash prize available to the winners today. And the cash prize is over £3,000. And I would like to take the opportunity to thank all our sponsors for sponsoring the cash prize. The sponsors have already been named by our Chief Constable, thank you very much. But as a reminder, they are M-SParc, who are sitting with me here, the Office of the Police and Crime Commissioner, FUW, NFU, and also PACT. And we as the police have also contributed to the fund. So I look forward to hearing all the pictures this morning as well.
Excellent, diolch yn fawr. A reminder as well that those who go forward will be able to come and use the Fuse Makerspace here in M-SParc to help develop any prototypes. And they will also be able to pitch it or have it set out on the farm. Is that right, Dewi?
That's correct. The project being led by North Wales Police is called Future Farms Cymru, as our Chief Constable pointed out earlier on. And the winners will have the opportunity to showcase their product on a demonstration farm, showing what's available to other farmers.
Excellent, diolch yn fawr. I've got a few nervous faces in front of us, so we won't keep you waiting any longer. We shall start with the pitches. We're going to just go in the order of whoever has booked a ticket first. We thought that was the best way to do it. And so first in, we have Lee Hughes. Lee, I can see you there. Croeso, thank you for joining us. So what we'll do, I will start a 2-minute timer as soon as you start your pitch, and I will let you know when your time is up. So drosodd I chi, over to you, Lee.
Oh, I thought I'd be last. Okay, well, I'll go first then. All right. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Yep, good. All right. Okay, let's have a look. One sec. Where is my browser? So I'm just working out how to share my browser. So
No problem. At the bottom, you'll see a button that says share screen, and if your browser's open, it will be one of the options for what you can share.
yeah. Okay. Okay. Not seeing that. LiDAR. I have a lot of windows, but not the Brave browser. One sec. LiDAR.
Do you want us to come back to you, Lee?
Yeah, if you could come back to me next, I'll kind of work out my tech.
No problem.
And see what's going on.
The next person we have is Daniel Bates, who I can see there. Daniel?
Daniel's on my team. So.
Oh, are you pitching together?
Yeah, we are. So.
The next we have is.
Hold on. I think I got it working. I think.
Oh, hey, there we go. Over to you then.
Okay. Well. One sec. I must get it into presentation mode. How's that looking? Yeah.
Perfect.
Great. Okay. Right. Our project's called Bagley Ruin. So here we go. Daniel's an electronic engineer, and he's very good at electronics. He works with CAT and the Open Energy project in Wales. I'm a networking guy and development operations specialist, so we've been working on this. So our device uses a magnetized case. It notifies the owner in real time when triggered by a vibration sensor. It provides real-time location tracking. We've optimized it for low power, so it's have a 1 or 2 year battery life, so you can forget about it. And we've completely custom designed it for the hack, so this is our 2-week progress. We run on the LoRaWAN network. It's a really low energy network. We run some nodes ourselves. We use other nodes by the council. It's really low energy. It's independent of the mobile network, so if you've got no 3G or 4G coverage, you can still get the tracking. It's jamming and fault resistant. It's really good for rural farms, and it has loads of other applications apart from security, safety, walkers, you know, emergency services, all kind of things that we can build on it. Our customers see this kind of interface. We've made it very simple because the crime hack was about making it simple. So as you can see, the sensors talk to you like people would chat to you on your instant messenger. So you can see here on the right, there's a quad bike and it's gone help and it shows its location, and it's a false alarm. So you just talk back to it and said, I want to snooze this for 24 hours, and it sleeps. So we can do instant messaging, email, SMS, phone, whatever you want. And it's as simple as we can make it. So the 3 things with the crime hack were, you know, we could connect this, and we could also connect a lot of other sensors as well to our system. The costs is specifically low cost. So we're looking at sensor devices between 10 and 15 pounds. The LoRaWAN network we use has no subscription, so it's a very low annual cost. We could reduce it further by bulk buying, mass production, partner relationships with yourselves and M-SParc, etc., etc. So yeah, we've built a solution using the latest sensor and networking technology to dramatically reduce costs and simplify use. And that's all we got, really.
Thank you. I gave you 2.5 minutes because I admit I forgot to look at the timer, but thank you very much for that. Excellent. Diolch yn fawr. Harry, any questions?
I think the picture's covered them.
Yeah.
Anything over that?
Just for me, the business model, have you gone that far in your thinking? You've done a lot of thinking around the tech, and I say it's quite impressive, the idea that you have. But what would be the business model? Would it be just to sell the devices in let's say, fabs, space stores, stuff like that? Or would it be software as a service or subscription-based? Any thoughts on that, Lee?
The answer is yes. All of those. So
all of it.
Perfect.
Yeah. So basically, whatever you want. You know, this is new tech, and it lowers costs, and it makes everything simple. So, but what happens is, if we can get the LoRaWAN network running, we can run a public network which allows other developers to, you know, generate lots of applications for farm monitoring, crop monitoring, security, safety. Yeah, so the network's the most one of the most important bits, but we've got, you know, so other people can come with their sensor technology and hop onto our network. This can be the council, the local councils in Wales are experimenting with this, and we've been using some of their nodes and some as well of our own. So the network enables low-cost applications to come online. So how we monetize that is, you know, something we'd have to discuss further. But
in terms of the device itself, you mentioned it was magnetized, so it presumably just attaches somewhere. How big is the device then? Would it be quite easy for a criminal to see it?
About the size of a AA battery. So we're looking at kind of like a pen size. So it can be like basically tucked under a quad bike's engine housing or into an outboard motor, and it's they're tiny, but they're not too tiny. We don't want to make them too small because you just lose them. So yeah.
One more from me.
Very low power, very small.
What's the expected battery life, Lee, for something like that?
Actually, like 1 to 2 years.
1 to 2 years.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, just one. I'll just add the quick question on as well. Is it sort of tamper-proof? Could a criminal tamper with this device?
Go on.
He's frozen.
Yeah, so Lily, I don't know if you heard my question there.
Yeah. You do that.
No, I think we've lost the.
Hello,
Okay.
sorry, Lee's just lost his connection. It's Daniel here.
Hiya, Daniel.
Yeah, we're thinking of quite a strong plastic case or actually casting in resin some of the components to make them completely waterproof. So tamper-proof, yeah, is definitely a thing. Also, the building protection stuff, we're thinking of like a short-term small battery backup so that if there's a power cut, there's enough strength to enough power to send out a signal, like a dying call, as it were. So that's it.
We were on mute, sorry. Thank you very much. If you could put yourself back on mute now, please, Daniel and Lee.
Thanks.
Thank you for that. It's not easy being the first either, so fair play. Next, we have David Montgomery, who I can't see there. Oh, David, is that you at the bottom, or is that different David? No, we will come back to that. Nick. Is Nick here? That was a good start.
They're still in bed.
Nick is not with us. Tom then, I can see Tom Turner there. We will go over to you for the next pitch. Can you hear us, Tom?
Yep, just share my screen. So.
There we go. And whenever you're ready, I'll start the timer.
Okay, 1 sec. Okay. So my name's Tom Turner. I'm with Ember Technology Design, and this is my idea for a device we can use to prevent rural crime. So the main 3 problems were quad bike theft, breaking into outbuildings, and theft of outboard motors. So I created this brand, Roam React. It's the basic components of it are a button at the top for simple use, this charging dock here, LED indicators for each of the 8 devices, security camera with built-in motion detectors, motherboard and speaker unit in the center, and then a battery and built-in GPS and Wi-Fi. You'd have 8 devices that can be placed discreetly onto all these different products you want to protect. So like tractors, quad bikes, machinery, things like that. Each of these 8 devices would have a GPS, an accelerometer, a gyroscope, and it would also be waterproofed in a enclosed casing. The main features of it is a security camera, motion detector, built-in GPS. It would utilize LoRaWAN connections. It would have backup recovery power. It would be easy to use. It would have app capabilities, a loud alarm speaker, real-time alerts, and automatic police dial. The way the product would work is the user would connect all the devices to the app that they've downloaded and sort of like name each one, sort of like Quad Bike 1 or Quad Bike 2. This could be a family app, so everybody would have access to it. As soon as everything's been put away in the barn or wherever they sort of like store them, you click the button on the top and that would arm the device, so then any movement or anything will be registered on the app and alert the user. It can be discreetly put onto the frame of a quad bike or other machinery like that. It could be actually installed in a barn and any movement it detects would alert the user, and then it could also be installed on the docks and stuff. So when a thief looks to roam away with the belongings of the user, our product would react and alert them to its presence. The main sort of like problem I saw in like the video M-SParc presented was the actual security system that this family had got stolen along with all their belongings. So this product could be installed on the actual ground and drilled in, so it's going to be pretty hard to sort of like remove it unless they have the specific tools to do that. So thank you for listening. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much for that. Are there any questions?
Yeah, Rob Taylor from the Raw Crime Team.
Oh, go on.
Awesome.
Okay, so in terms of attachments, yes, it can go into the ground. How would it attach to? Would it attach to also machinery?
Sorry, it broke up at the end there. What did you say?
Okay, so thank you very much for the pitch. Does the device, obviously, it screws into the ground, doesn't it, Tom?
Yep.
Does it attach to an agricultural vehicle as well? And if so, how?
Yep. So what we would do, I'll just go back to it. So this is the standalone device here. So this is like the beacon, and then you have all these different devices here that pop out and get charged in the charging dock. These would have little cases that you could industrially glue to like frames and things like that, like a little dock, and you could sort of like fix it in, lock it in place, and then set the alarm on there.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, could you just give me, I'm sorry, don't fully understand. The actual piece is that you're not attaching the whole instrument to the agricultural equipment. It's those little rods at the top. Are they the tracker?
Yeah,
right,
these
sorry,
little
okay.
rods here.
And could you give me a sort of a perspective of what sort of size we're looking at here, sort of lengthwise? Right, okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you, Rob.
And sorry, and the cost of the device, Tom?
So the actual what do you call it? Bollard thing would cost about £500 with all the components. So like the actual bollard being installed and everything else would be around £500, and then each of the devices, say you want to add more or you lose a few, each device would be around £20 ish.
And is there an app that can accompany it already, or does that need to be developed?
The app would need to be developed as well.
Okay, thanks.
Tom, is your proposal to partner up with someone on this project? I know, and the design is more of a product designer, aren't you? I guess, would you need to bring someone in on the technical side and the building the technical sides of it?
Yeah, I'd definitely be open to doing a collaboration with one of the people in this group here.
Okay.
Cool. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Tom. Diolch am hynna. We'll go over to James, if James is here. I'm not seeing James. Oh, this is going well. Taylor, I can see you. Can we go over to you then, please?
Barda.
Barda.
So my whole concept and idea is, I feel like by the time most alarm systems, they send off a signal to the owner or the police. I feel like by the time the alert has been sent, the item has already been taken. So we want to prevent that. We want to prevent the thief from even getting nowhere close to the item that's about to be stolen. So my whole idea is to strike fear in the thief. So the device itself that I'm thinking is to have a video recorder, which will be recording the whole room or wherever the device will be put 24/7, and it'll have a pre-recorded voice note, which will be triggered by motion sensors. When the motion sensors sense that someone or a movement is happening close by, it will trigger the voice recording, and this will be pre-recorded, and the voice recording will be stop, you are trespassing private property, your identity has already been captured and has been sent to the police, you have and stuff like that. We want that. So this will and we want it to be really, really loud. So this will strike fear into the thief, and they'll obviously panic. They'll be like, oh no, I'm in trouble. And the device will be connected via Bluetooth to the owner's phone or whatever device they will be using. And So I searched up like the different parts that will be needed and like the average pricing. So the light motion sensors are averaging between 60 to 40 pounds, and the voice recording chip, which is like a 20-second voice recording chip, is about £5.24. Cameras are usually around 48 pounds. And I'm thinking the material for the whole device, so it can't be tampered with, to be polycarbonate, which is really hard plastic. And sorry, just getting through my nose. The size, I'm thinking about 130 millimeters by 100 millimeters, and the device will be attached like to the wall, so there'll be a square sort of made out of metal, and it will be like drilled into the wall, and then it'll have I don't know if you can see it here, these two lines which the device will be slid into, and then the screws will be fixed in as well, so it can't be pulled out. And yeah, that's my idea.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Are you in Halls at the moment?
Yeah.
Which course are you doing?
Product design.
Product design, brilliant. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, thanks very much, Time Out. Does the system differentiate between an innocent person near the item and the criminal?
I feel like I think with motion sensors you can find ones that set like intensity of like movement, like at speed movement, because the thief will be moving either really slow or really fast, so it'll be detecting that within the motion sensors. So I feel like, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That's great.
No, coming from a farming background, and my dad's a farmer, he never parks the quad in the same place. So I can see your device working well for the challenge of breaking into sheds, because it's I imagine it's a fixed camera. But how would you deal with the fact that, let's say for the quad theft, they may be parked in various different places along the farm?
I guess you can have like a 360 camera, you know?
Yeah, that's great. Okay, thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yep.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you.
Next we have Connor Baker. Do we have Connor? Yes, we
Hiya.
do. Yay! Over to you, Connor.
Okay, thank you. So my name's Connor. I'm a second year electronic engineering student. And me and 4 of my mates have come up with an idea called crime causation, which will be an RFID scanner attached to an outbuilding, which will, when scanned with a card, deactivate a magnetic scanner on the back of a door or a window, and deactivate an alarm. If the magnetic sensor is broken without the RFID scanner's permission, then it will send a radio frequency to the main house, and it will trigger an alarm by a radio receiver, and then it can be set to different outbuildings with different messages per outbuilding. And it will be modular in size, so it can do different size doors, different size windows with different sized antennas. So for the prototype that we're thinking of building, it'll be with an initial 2K range, but we can get up to 10K if needs to be. For the prototype, we reckon it will cost £150 to make, but we can make it cheaper with custom parts, etc. And it's flexible for design. Like I said, it's modular.
Cool, thank you, Connor.
Okay, okay, I'll ask. So there's an RFID scanner in the outbuilding.
Yeah.
And presumably there's one on each of the items as well.
Just for the outbuildings, because we're aiming for this to tackle the theft into outbuildings.
I understand. So you're not going for the quad bikes and what have you.
But the design it can be changed to do the quad bikes and outboard motors as well.
Okay. Okay, so just so I can get my head around this, so the RFID scanner, is it detecting a person going in? I appreciate you've probably already explained, but I'm just trying to get my mind around it.
So it will be on the outside or preferably on the inside, depending on what sort of RFID scanner we use. And it will scan a card, which has got a certain chip on it, which it will scan. And then the RFID will deactivate the magnetic sensor on the back of the door. And then the person can go in or out through access. But if the scanner isn't scanned and then the magnetic sensor is broken, it will then send a radio frequency to the transceiver in the house and set off the alarm.
So the farmer would need to scan a card or an RFID tag every time he goes into that shed, otherwise the alarm goes off.
Or if you're going to be in or out of it, you can scan it once and leave the door open.
Yeah.
As long as it's closed before you're finished using it.
Yeah. So the system is basically detecting when the farmer doesn't scan it, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Oh, thank you very much. And what network is being used then for the RFID scanner to speak to wherever the alert is going?
We were planning on using a simple Arduino board for it. So if the RFID scanner triggers, then it will deactivate the magnetic sensor, and if it's not deactivated, then it will send a frequency wave to the radio transceiver.
Right. Okay. So it is an alarm that goes off at that point.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Will it then alert via an app or?
Well, it will set an alarm off in the farmer's house.
In the farmer's house. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Does it use Wi-Fi then to trigger that, or is it?
It will be done by radio frequency waves.
Radio, right? Okay.
We considered using Wi-Fi, but it's more expensive, and you don't necessarily know if the farmer's going to have Wi-Fi.
No, exactly. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Connor. As well. Leo was supposed to be next, but I have actually had an email from Leo. He's in school and has to go to class today. Fair play. So Rhidian, I can see you there. We'll go over to Rhidian then, please.
Yeah, os da chi'n meindio dawn ydyn ni'n Gymraeg?
That's fine. Apologies, we don't have a translator, but Rhidian is going to do it in Welsh for us. Mae hynna'n iawn. Diolch yn fawr, Rhidian.
Iawn. So, fy syniad i ydy, da chi'n gyd gweld hwnna?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So, fy syniad i ydy y bugail bodlon, the satisfied shepherd. So, y broblem ydy bod lladron yn torri CCTVs ac ISIFs adeiladau allanol, a dwi'n nhw'n torri fewn i'r adeiladau allanol yma ac yn dwy'n offer fferm. So, cyn symud ymlaen, dwi'n eisiau siarad am person sy'n cael ei effeithio gan y lladron yma, sef y ffarmwr. A dwi'n eisiau gwneud 3 datgan am y ffarmwr. Mae pob un ffarmwr yn gwisgo Wellington boots ar y fferm. Mae ffermwyr angen adeiladau allanol fod dan glo yn nos ac yn agored yn dydd. A mae pob ffermwr eisiau system syml fel bod nhw ddim gorfod cario allwedd i fynd rownd i agor y cae siediau. Felly, fy ateb i'r broblem yma ydy y bugail bodlon, sef da chi'n defnyddio technoleg RFID syml, da chi'n cymryd chip RFID, sy'n y llun yma, a da chi'n rhoid o tu fewn wadan Wellington boots. A wedyn, da chi hefyd yn rhoi RFID receiver wrth ymyl y drws ar y shed. A pan mae'r ffarmwr angen mynd at y shed tu allan i working hours, so gyda nos, neu pwy bynnag mae eisiau, all fod yn smart weithio'r timer, mae o jyst yn gorfod cicio, neu fatha twtsiad receiver ar wylod y drws gyda'i Wellington. A dyn mewn ffordd y penawda y syniad yma ydy bod o'n cloi'n automatic, os ddim angen allwedd ychwanegol, mae'n syml a mae'n gadar. A dyn mewn ffordd, syniad yr enw ydy bod y ffarmwr yn fodlon bod y fferm yn saff. Diolch yn fawr.
Brilliant, diolch yn fawr, thank you. Baderi has kindly translated for you as well. He's typed that in the chat for everyone. Diolch yn fawr, Rhydian. Oes any cwestiynau? Any questions?
Ia, diolch yn fawr iawn, Rhydian. Mae o'n yn y Gymraeg ac y Saesneg.
Ie.
So, y cwestiwn ydy, sut mae'r chip yn cael ei rhoi i fewn yn y boot? How is the chip put inside the Wellington?
Wel, fydra ni mynd lawr 2 lôn wahanol fy hyn. Fydra ni greu Wellingtons hunan sydd efo'r chip tu fewn iddyn nhw. Fydra ni, wch chi, am bod y chips yma yn fach ofnadwy, maen nhw wedi fewn i gathod, maen nhw wedi fewn i bobl, maen nhw'n bo man, a fydwch chi just agor slits bychan yn wadan y Wellington a insertio fewn, wch chi, ar ryw bodfad i fewn lle, fel bod o yn secure ofnadwy. Neu y trydydd opsiwn di adio wbeth at gwadan y Wellington. Mae'r gwadan Wellington yn eitha trwchus, mae'n ddigon o le yna i adio technoleg i fewn iddo. Y syniad ydy bod dy'r ffarmwr, os ydy o gorau mynd allan am dyn ni 8 o gloch yn nos, ella bod y shed yn cau yn hun am 5, ond lle bod o gorau cofio mynd ar ryw oriad yn y beth o fo, mae'r goriad yn ei Wellington yn barod.
Wedyn, ydy y chip ydy'n medru agor sawl adeilad gwahanol? Can the chip in the boot, can it open multiple buildings?
Yeah, the chip can open any building program to use this technology, or you can have many Wellingtons open many buildings. You can have other fobs as well. Like say, for example, you've decided to wear your sandals to go around the farm for some reason. You can bring your fob instead. It's like, the fob that you can use. It's the same technology that people use to open hotel doors.
Just atgoffa fi, Rhydian, os yna rhywun yn mynd i fewn i'r shed, a bod nhw heb yr chip yma, beth sy'n digwydd wedyn? If someone goes into the building without wearing these Wellingtons, i.e. a criminal, what happens then?
So'r syniad ydy, fydd y shed wedi ar gloi, dan glo, a'r Wellington ydy'r allwedd mewn ffordd i agor y shed. Ond os yna rhywun yn brute force agor y shed, wel wedyn mi fydd yna dechnoleg os, da ni'n meddwl am syniad i oedd fath rhyw premium package, yn y premium package mae yna hefyd dechnoleg fel LoRa One sy'n gyrru negeseuon i'r tŷ yn dweud bod yna ladron yn torri fewn i'r shed. Ond dwi'n gweld oedd rhyw system basic ydy just y clo ar Wellington agor hwnnw, a dyn y premium package ydyn wedyn yna larwm hefyd os oes rhywun yn torri fewn. Dydy hyn i gyd ddim yn costio, mae'r chip ei hun yn costio cynioga, i fod yn onest, a dydy mae'r clo yn costio mwy fel 50 pint 80 felly.
Diolch. Ydych chi wedi trio rhoi yn o'r chips mae i fewn i Wellington? Have you tried putting one of these chips inside a boot?
Na fo, ond dwi wedi bod yn gwneud dipyn o research i fatha wahanol Wellingtons a fi yn gweld sa'n ni'n gallu am bod y chips ma mor dena, sa'n ni'n gallu agor ryw slits bach yn y Wellington i roed i fewn, neu adeiladu ryw fath o 3D printed a bracing bach tenna around y Wellington fel bod o'n gadarn oherwydd bod y Wellingtons yma gen ffermwyr cael ei abusio'n aml dydyn fatha mwd a falle yno. So,
diolch.
Rydyn, cwestiwn gyda fi, cwestiwn maen nhw'n gofyn wastad ar Dragon's Den. The question that they always ask on Dragon's Den, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your background, Rydyn, cyndir chdi?
Yeah, so ges i fy magu yn dinas wrth y meddwl Tudwiliog, Nefyn ffordd na. Dyn nes i brifysgol Sheffield, dyn wneud Electronics Engineering, dyn nes i lawr I Guildford I weithio am 2 mlynedd efo BA Systems. A wedyn dwi wedi symud yn ôl fyny efo nghariad I fyw yn Gwynedd a wan yn gweithio yn cwmni o'r Design Reality.
Ti'n dweud hynna, dwi'n meddwl bod ni wedi siarad. Dwi'n cofio pwyntio.
No, da ni siarad blaen.
Diolch.
Thank you. That was a Pederi and Rhidian finding out where they know each other from, which is tradition when when farmers are speaking to each other. Diolch yn fawr iawn am hynna, Rhidian. Thank you. Tony Thomas nesa. Tony, ti yna? Mae yna. Ti ar mute, you're on mute, Tony. Should be able to unmute yourself at the bottom of the screen.
Loud and clear rwan yndi?
Lovely.
Iawn, basically de, cael pedal bach de, a wedyn wnaeth o'n gweithio I tad Pryderi, mae o'n goro parcio'r quad ar y pedal ma, a wedyn mae'r pedal de, yn basically, pryd mae'r quad yn cael ei dynnu off, mae'r electric current yn mynd off, sydd yn wedyn, mae yna devices bach I gael, pryd mae electric yn mynd off o fan hyn, dwi'n cael text, a pryd mae electric yn dod yn ôl on, dwi'n cael text arall. So, mae o'n simple as am software yn byd chi. Ond hefyd, be o'n i'n meddwl efo'r chips, microchips ma, cael injection, dyna swn i'n reid o, a swn i'n injectio microchip de, I mewn I set y quad neu rhywbeth sa rhywun byth yn fideo fo. A wedyn, features eraill hefyd efo'r microchips de, bod y ffarmwr yn medru, bod yr app ma, os di'r ffarmwr efo dementia neu beth yn cochi oriadau I gap stabal a'i wallet yma chi, mae o'n medru mynd rownd y tŷ a sort of locatio bethau. A dyna fo, really.
Lovely, diolch yn fawr. Thank you, Tony. Pederi is frantically typing a translation for you all into the text box. Do we have any questions for Tony?
Yeah, diolch Tony, thanks Tony. So, y pedal, os y cables yn rhedeg ar hyd y ddeiar I gyrraedd o, ta di o'n rhedeg o dde'r battery, does the pedal...
Mae ar mains yndi.
Okay, so it's always, efo cables yn mynd ar hyd y ddeiar, the cables going along the
ground? Yeah, o'n i'n meddwl, efo, ydyn ni, os yw'n shed concrete de, cael wbeth fatha diamond driller, 6 inch yn rhywbeth, a wedyn mae'n just mynd yna, de, twch fel la, sticio'r thing I mewn, a wedyn, be maen nhw'n galw'r cables na, mae yna rhyw cables efo, be da chi'n galw nhw, cables, maen nhw'n protected ydy, da chi'n gorfod cael nhw a just...
Armoured cables, yeah.
Be maen nhw'n galw nhw, sorry?
Armoured cables.
Armoured cables, yeah. Basically, just plugio fo mewn i'r mains a wedyn mae o'n cael ei activatio pryd mae'r pwysau dod off, de. Edrai'm gweld ffordd, da chi'n gweld movies efo Tom Cruise a mae chi'n dydach pryd maen nhw'n dwy'n y diamonds, maen nhw'n gorfod cael rhyw bagiau I fynd. Dwi'n gwybod sut sa'n nhw'n medru hacio fo, de.
Lovely. Diolch yn fawr iawn, Tony. Thank you. And there you go, the translation for that is in the chat now as well. Thank you for today. Excellent. So we've only got 3 more. So the next 2, Wyn Griffith and Rob, who I believe have 2 pitches, but they're doing them both together. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you. We can do one and then the other. That probably makes sense if we do both separately.
Go ahead. Who wants to go first?
Okay. Do you want to kick off, Wyn, and share? Do you want to share the screen so you can spin through it?
Right. Yeah. I'll go doing that. Share screen. Here we go. Okay, so can everybody see that?
It says it's loading, so I imagine it will show us in a second. Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Is it turned up? Okay, great. So, enw fi di Wyn, dwi'n arbenigo mewn dylunio a prototypio, a dwi wedi tîmio fyny efo Rob o Evometrics. So my name's Wyn. My day-to-day freelance stuff is design and prototyping, and I've teamed up with Rob, who is an expert in technology from Evometrics. So we've got a couple of elements to our proposal. So the first one is Gwarchod, and it would basically be a Bluetooth puck. What you see on the screen is just an example of the format it might take. And that would send out a continuous signal to apps. Okay, so this would be sort of close proximity, identifying itself to apps. So we imagine that perhaps the farming community, farmers would have the apps on their phone, and if they came into contact, whether that was in the sale yard or whether it was a neighbouring farm, or potentially when they're purchasing a new piece of equipment, that equipment would alert them to the fact that item has been stolen. So it would be registered on a central database, and then compared to that database, it would then alert the person and also the police that that item has been found. So the actual format itself, then we would look to develop different form factors. It can be hidden in a concealed location on the equipment, whether that's inside the frame, inside the handlebars, somewhere where it would be difficult to find and it would be destructive and render the theft unviable in terms of the destruction caused. So because of those elements, it would deter theft in the first place and also enable us to recover stolen items as well. And it would enable an asset passport on the app, so people would be able to check before they purchase things if it's been stolen or not. And let me see if I can. Yeah, it works hitting the signal to nearby apps. The app would then compare that signal, as I said, and then report if that item is a stolen item is found to the police. So that's our sort of first elements to our pitch, really. So this one is called Gwarchod, which in Welsh means to protect. And I think Rob might jump in there with anything that I've missed or any sort of technical answers to questions that people might have.
I think we're probably running out of time, but just to say that the premise of this is to make the items less desirable for theft, because they will show up on this track and trace style app somewhere in the future. So if you've got a choice of which quad bike to steal, you would steal one that's isn't sort of centrally registered and doesn't have this track and trace feature, making it less desirable to steal.
And I might add also that we thought of sort of combining it with a microdot system, so that to sort of to reduce that desirability of being able to steal stealing an item as well.
Cool. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Just from my understanding, then the idea is that the criminal would also be able to scan, let's say, an ATV and see if it's got the puck tracker or not, and if it has got the puck tracker, then clearly they don't want to pinch that particular vehicle. Is that the format?
Yes, that is the format. You'll notice on the last bullet point on this slide as well. So we would envisage that we could make it economical by partnering up with potential insurance companies and security partners, and it would necessitate the users to register for the app as well. So potentially, yes, the thief might be able to do that, but they would have to register, and it adds a certain level of protection there as well.
You mentioned that, if I understood correctly, that if someone tries damaging the pack, it sends out was it a distress signal you said, something like that? Or do they
no, the technology we've chosen for this one is Bluetooth Low Energy. So that's a sealed device, but has very high battery endurance, but short range. So you need to be within about 10 meters, say, to pick up the signal. But the idea was because it's using that radio technology, which has such high battery endurance, it would the beacon would last approximately the same length, the same lifetime as say a quad bike. 10 years really for a beacon, and so that means we can discreetly position it, almost embed it inside the vehicle, so that you would need to destroy a bit of the asset, the quad bike or whatever, in order to extract the beacon. And of course, that's more work that's needed to be done. It's a less desirable item because you'd have to work on it to render it. And also the central register just means that that asset is registered, and if you're potentially purchasing it, you would find that asset, the chassis number, is supposed to have a beacon. So if it doesn't have a beacon on it, it's clearly been removed for some reason. And so it works in two ways. That you've got the sort of central asset registry, which can be made available for evidential logs. Who's checking the assets, and if they're using the phone, what their registration details are for who's been checking up on assets. And then also the peer-to-peer idea is, if that asset with the beacon ends up in a marina, for example, on an outboard, or in a farmer's yard or an agricultural market, many other users who also have the app will be picking up the fact that this asset, which is registered stolen, is now showing up in various places, and it all leads to detection and gathering evidence.
Thanks, Rob. One of our sponsors is asking, how is the passport data maintained or updated? Who hosts that data?
That would be through our company, Evometric. We supply Internet of Things solutions, so it would be a centrally provisioned service. However, if there was, say, if it needed to be run through a larger organization such as an insurance company, then we can provide the technology, but it could be, say, an insurance company who runs the service and is it would be the data controller in that respect. So depending on the interest and the interest from maybe insurers or the police, we don't have to run it, but we can provide the technology, and it could be operated by another higher tier organization.
Brilliant, thank you.
How big is the device?
These things are pretty small. Imagine it is about an inch square, second-class postage stamp, and about 5 or 6 millimeters deep, something like that. So fairly small.
A subscription model, or do you just buy the item?
Yeah, buy the item, and that would probably include a access to the app as well.
What's the cost?
If we can utilize off-the-shelf beacons, then the cost of a beacon is around sort of £10 or £20, something like that. But we may need to we may want to use programmable beacons, so we can embed certain information inside the beacon, such as the chassis number or something like that. In which case the cost goes up a bit, but they're certainly affordable units.
We would look as well to partner with with the insurance providers, as Rob says, in order to reduce that cost. It actually would bring about commercial benefits for the provider as well. In terms of sort of things not being stolen, I suppose. So reduction in sort of benefit payouts.
Definitely. Thank you. And then, Rob, are we going back to you for the next pitch?
Yes, I will share the slide deck this time. Just give me a few moments to share that. Okay.
Perfect.
Can we see the slides?
We can, yeah.
Wonderful. Bore da pawb, Rob Shepherd dwi. I'm based in North Wales. I'm a LoRaWAN specialist providing sensor data solutions, and again partnered up with Wyn Griffiths, who you heard a moment ago. Our second idea is Kyriad, which is a very small beacon, this time using LoRaWAN, which is our main specialism. We get high range, so this device can be anywhere on a farm and can be tracked all over LoRaWAN networks wherever they are. and the premise of this one is not to enable tracking, which could be jammed, or using GSM, which takes a lot of battery power to maintain it. This one is similar to the beacons, very high battery endurance, so a sealed device with 10 years of battery endurance, and its basic idea is to emit a heartbeat every 10 or 15 minutes, basically to indicate that the device is still within range. If you try and destroy the item, of course, the heartbeat is lost, and then out of hours, if we can see that the signal strength is changing, we've then got some evidence to say that the device is on the move, say between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. when that device should be stationary inside a barn or in the compound of a farm, or somewhere like that. We can essentially provide a reasonably precise evidential log of the timing around a theft. There's potential to use the LoRaWAN network to do fairly coarse tracking, so we can see roughly which direction it's moving, north, south, east, or west, depending on the various gateways that it pops up. But really, the idea here is to help with gathering evidence of crime and to more accurately target things like A&PR is just to narrow the window of theft down to a 10 or 15 minute window, something like that. And of course, it delivers alerts to email, SMS, Telegram. Those sort of things are already built into our existing platform for Internet of Things solutions. And if we can make it smaller and cheaper, then we can embed it inside the chassis of a vehicle or inside a fairly hard to reach place on, say, an outboard or something like that. And in addition, we already have existing technology that we can use for helping with the security of outbuildings. So we can provide both solutions under one app, if you like. So you get notifications of a door being opened when it shouldn't be, a door being tampered with when it shouldn't be, and also the potential movement or loss of an asset surrounding the your high value item, whether that's a quad bike or a trailer or an outboard motor. And this again is a really tiny device, really small, and can be secreted in hard to reach places on a chassis or something like that. Yeah, over to questions. Unless Wyn, do you have anything to add to that one?
No, other than I particularly like sort of bringing all these technologies together, really, to give us a higher level of security. So each technology has its sort of strengths and weaknesses, I suppose, but bringing them all together into a single system with a single app, centralized database, with a single dashboard for an overview, to make it simple for the users as well, so they don't have to utilize different software to do different things, etc. I think that's where the real strength of the pitch is. Yeah.
Thank you. Have you got any questions?
Thank you very much. So you've mentioned, Rob mentioned, if it goes out of range, you get this alert. But out of range of what? Is it a local LoRaWAN gateway or something else?
Yes, of course, out of range of a LoRaWAN gateway. So if it's taken away from the network entirely through destruction or loss of range, then that's of course a loss of heartbeat. But also when it is periodically issuing its heartbeat, we can see the signal strength, and so that will change, of course. As say a quad bike is driven around a farm during the day, that's totally appropriate for the signal strength to be changing or coming in out of range. But with a configurable option, you could say, it's now parked up and shouldn't move, and or you could just have a preset to say, we're not really going to be operating the quad bike between, I don't know, 8 p.m. and 6 a.m., something like that. And so automatically in those hours, if there is movement or anything associated with that device, if that device is destroyed or removed from the network, or it changes, it's picked up by a different gateway, it all forms part of the evidential log.
So if it's stolen and then it sits in a strong signal but on a different gateway, the farmer would know?
Of course,
okay.
Yep. Of course, we can build up the normal pattern of activity. You see, the normal pattern of activity, and if it strays away from that, then instant alerts to say that it's been stolen, and you've got that instant gathering of evidence.
I know this is a fun part of the competition, but is it suitable for animals? Anything else, or is it just vehicles they are interested in?
Yeah, of course. If you had appropriate, and I'm no expert, but there are certainly people around the table that are. If you had appropriate wearable straps or harnesses or whatever that were appropriate for the animal, then yeah, of course you could put that on. Of course, if the it's a little harder to protect, say, an animal without permanently attaching it. You could of course cut those straps off, so it would I'm not particularly familiar with things like ear tags, but it would be a small device that could be on an ear tag, for example. It wouldn't be we'd have to look at the welfare, of course, but if it's on an ear tag, it's potentially harder to remove.
What's the size of the device?
Again, a tiny, because we're going for no real instrumentation. We can cut down the size, which means we can cut down the battery, and it's hoped we can cut this down to about the size of a first-class stamp that's about say 5 millimeters thick. So a really tiny device.
Okay, thank you.
What was the cost for this device?
The cost, of course, these things depend on the how many you make in a batch, but the price point for the device, I guess, would be about £30 or £40. If you're doing small batch manufacturing or something like that. Obviously, if there's larger batches, the costs come down, and then there's a small because it's running on an active service, and you need the you need the cloud applications. There'd be an annual subscription of a few pounds, not much really, to get that protection.
Does that include installation? Does the farmer need to install it themselves?
Yeah, the farmer would need to install it, but we'd probably come up with some recommendations on where it could be placed on the vehicle, and the methods you could use for fixing it, so different types of adhesive or welding or whatever. In fact, I'll hand over to Wynne, who could probably have a better description of installation.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so we had a discussion yesterday about how you might go about doing this. So having prescribed locations is probably not the best thing to do, because it won't take long for the thieves to sort of learn where those prescribed locations are. So we thought sort of leave it up to the user, but make it as sort of flexible as possible so that it can be hidden in various locations. So we discussed maybe cylindrical type sensors that could be placed inside a handlebar, for example, and maybe that could be tamper-proof. The only way to remove it really would be to poke it out, but that poking action could sort of alert the sensor to the fact that it's been tampered with, which would send out a signal. Or you'd actually have to cut the handlebar open, which would probably make it easier just to go and steal a different quad bike or a different outboard motor. So we thought, the other thing we discussed was perhaps if we can make them small enough, would be sort of deployment through something like a valve stem into tyres. Okay, maybe put 4 of them on the vehicle, which again would sort of render the theft uneconomical for the thief.
Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch.
Thank you. Thanks a bunch, Rob and Wynne, for those last but not least then, we go on, oh, hold on, let me stop your screen sharing. We go to Gary Smith, if Gary is here. Yeah, I can see Gary.
Yep, you all right?
Hello.
How are you doing? You okay?
Good, thanks. Over to you then, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find my... Let's do a whole screen share since I can't see just the application I want. Screen, there we go. Sorry, you're just going to see yourselves. There we go. Right, so this is actually remarkably similar to what Rob's just pitched, but there is a slight difference to it. So the idea that I've come up with is partly based around LoRaWAN, but also around a concept called RFID. Now, you might have seen this if you're familiar with driving up and down the M6 toll road. You can get something called a tag, which is a little device that goes in the windscreen of your car. And rather than stopping to put cash in or pay by card, you literally just drive under a gantry, barrier opens, and you're away. So what's happening here is there's a little sensor in that tag in your windscreen, and that's being read by a sensor on the gantry. Validates that it's a tag, and the payment is taken subsequently from the identity of the unit that's in your windscreen. So I'm wanting to apply something kind of similar. Now, you may also have seen this, you're probably more familiar with it in terms of the kind of thing that will open a door maybe in your office or to get into a hotel room, that kind of thing. The idea is that you've got a something that's reading a chip, and obviously the other side that's doing the reading of that the identity of the chip. So we're going to use the same idea. What we're going to have is a long-range RFID sensor. Now that will be mounted maybe in a barn or in a farmhouse, something like that. You can have as many of these as you want. So there was a question for a previous pitch. What if a quad bike is left in multiple different locations around farm? Absolutely fine. We can have as many of these as we want. If the quad is within the reading location of one of the RFID sensors, then that's great. If it moves away, then we can generate an alert on that. We can optionally also have a tracker on the piece of equipment, whether that be a quad bike or, I don't know, a bucket or something like that as well. When it starts moving away, we can generate an alert, and then we can optionally also start to track it. Are there any issues? Yeah, we're going to need to power these RFID sensors. So in a barn, that might be that there's going to be a power issue there. We could look to optionally look at solar power because it's fairly low power. If the object is nicked, then to try and, as Rob touched on as well, to try and give longevity to the battery, we'd perhaps only be looking to get a location once a day. Because the LoRaWAN side of stuff is two-directional, we could look to increase that if we're aware of a theft to get a more in-depth or accurate location, but ultimately it's still perhaps going to be down to within a 1 square mile, something like that, maybe even more area. Positives, it can be done very cheaply. For an initial install, we could be looking at sub £200, and then for each RFID chip, we're looking at pennies if we're wanting to do tracking as well. As Rob's also said, in the region of 40 to 50 quid, and that would be something that would have between 5 and 10 years battery life on it. The costs for this side of stuff for all of it would be negligible because we're not really running any centralized services. Easy to install as well. Again, people that have already got similar pitches have come up with and said it's not difficult to install. It can be easily hidden. We could make it so that it's destructive as well, that you'd be destroying the equipment that you're stealing to actually get rid of it. Yeah, questions and obligatory cat tax.
Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, so yeah, you mentioned the RFID reader. And what's the distance between that and the items we saw? And when does that
Yeah, we'd be looking at, if we were to go with longest range, we could go up to about 100 meters. So that should easily cover even the biggest barns. What I've got, what you're seeing there on the left is a long range RFID sensor that can read if a piece of equipment's within range, like a quad bike, up to about 100 meters. So if you're using your quad bike and it's within range, great. So what we typically look to see is, okay, is your quad bike at home and in bed by 10 o'clock? If it's moving without or outside those hours, there's something going wrong. But crucially, we can set that to whatever the farmer wants. So it could be that he's knocked off early. So it says on the app, yep, 6 o'clock, I'm going home, finishing early for the day, job done. The concept around this is that it's not, one size doesn't fit all with farmers. They're working at different times. During the summer, they might be clocking on at 4 in the morning. So it's entirely down to them what the time frames are when this is going to be active, and when it might be starting to generate alerts if something's moving outside those times. If they clock on at 4 in the morning, they don't want to be getting spammed with alerts saying your quad's moving. He knows it's moving because he's on it.
Does the farmer need to park the quad bike in the same place every night, or can the farmer park the quad bike anywhere within the signal range?
It's not even within signal range. You can have multiple instances of this. So say if he's got a sensor in his barn, a sensor in his farmhouse, a sensor, I don't know, in the bottom field or whatever, then that's all fine as long as all of those sensors are all part of the same farm. As long as it's within range of one of those sensors, then it's all fine. It's the chip that's on the quad bike will be saying, hi, I'm here, to the sensor that's tied to his farm. And as long as it's within range of one of those, then we're fine.
Okay. And is it possible to block the signal? Could the criminal do that?
Feasibly, yeah, they could wrap the quad bike in foil or something like that. I think that's going to be a danger or a risk to anything where you've got any kind of RFID tag, LoRaWAN tag, or whatever on the equipment itself. Feasibly, if it were to go into an ISO container or whatever, that would be a risk as well. I think when you get into that point, it's something that's going to be difficult to overcome. And I think if it's getting to the point where they're dropping it straight into an ISO container, then you've probably got bigger things to worry about, such as how they've got an ISO container onto your farm without you noticing. But yeah, there's only so far you can go. This is designed down to the cheaper end of things. Obviously, farmers aren't going to be made of money. You can probably overcome the RFID blocking or jamming, but you're going to be throwing significant money at it.
Good, that's Neil.
Just briefly for me, Gary, what's your background personally? Are you from a company or is this an individual project?
So I run my own company. We work primarily in IT security, payment security for the public sector. We do a lot of sort of physical security and physical tracking stuff as well. So we do asset tracking within large locations, that kind of thing. You may be familiar with it in terms of tracking packages around like an Amazon warehouse, that kind of thing. It's not, this concept isn't too far removed from that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, lovely. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you, Gary.
All right.
And that's it for our pitches. So we are going to go over to the next part of the event. So we will be putting ourselves on mute and judging. So we're not judging overall winners and handing out prizes. What we are going to be deciding is whose ideas are feasible, have met the criteria of being easy to use and low cost. And we will let you know who they are, and then we will go and meet with our partners, the other sponsors, to decide how to distribute the funding and what we want. So whilst we're doing that, I will hand you over to my colleague Sarah from the Enterprise Hub, the Hub Mentor, because a lot of these concepts obviously at the start of of new ideas and new businesses, and the Enterprise Hub is all about helping you with that. So I won't say too much, I will leave that to Sarah. We'll put ourselves on mute for about 10 minutes and have a discussion around that. Diolch yn fawr iawn, Sarah.
Dim problem, diolch Emily. So I'll share my screen quickly. Good evening. Here we go. So great pictures, everyone. Really interesting to listen to all of them. So as Emily said, I'm Sarah and I'm the coordinator for the Enterprise Hub. So again, as Emily said, following this event, I'm sure many of you will have thought of potentially commercialising some of these solutions for the problems discussed. And you may want some support on the business side of things to do this. And that's where the Enterprise Hub can come in to support you with that. So the Enterprise Hub is a programme and it's run in collaboration between Mentor and M-SParc, ERDF funded through the Welsh Government. And our intention is to provide inspiration, guidance and support for anyone in North West Wales that covers Gwynedd, Anglesey, Conwy and Denbighshire who wants to start a business. Whilst our support is largely aimed at those starting new businesses, we also have some support available to existings as well. We offer a collaborative space, a community of entrepreneurs to share, develop and realise their ideas. Being part of the Enterprise Hubs, you get access to one-to-one business advisors who can help you with things like business planning, finding finance, signposting to additional sources of support and so on. We have a range of exciting events, so educational and social ones. And more recent developments, we've got a startup accelerator programme called Mutiny, and as well a range of sort of fuse maker spaces across the 4 counties. I don't have to explain to you what a makerspace is, obviously. So a little map of all the locations around everywhere. M-SParc in Gaerwan is our main HQ. That's where most of the things happen. But we have got locations as far as Congaminkin, Botwnog and the Llyn Peninsula, and all the way up to sort of Clun Chambers, Trilway. Obviously, nice photos of M-SParc. But what we try to explain to people most is that it's not just the desk in these spaces. You know, it's important to have the community of like-minded people around you. It's the opportunity to network, create the contacts, collaboration, knowledge sharing. You know, for example, if you've ever sat in the Tanio Cafe in M-SParc, you never know who you're going to come across, and you never know who your next client is going to be from that interaction. And I have to tell everyone all the time that anyone's welcome in M-SParc because it's a lovely place and a lovely cafe as well. And it's great to see those connections happening as well when we held sort of workshops and events as well. So something I always forget to say actually is that everything we offer is completely fully funded, so that it means no cost to you. Of course, sort of the recent COVID situation has proved a bit of a challenge for physical co-working spaces. However, we have adapted services really quickly to online when we've had to. So loads of things like webinars, virtual one-to-ones and so on. But we are really excited to have officially reopened the space at M-SParc again during September, and we have got plans in place to open the satellites as well. Whilst we know not everyone will actually want to return straight away to the spaces, you know, we are hoping that a fair amount of people will, and that's great. But what we don't want to do is forget those who actually don't want to come back for a little while, and that's why we're continuing to sort of develop the online hub provision a bit more as well. So we're going to have an online space where you can get access to the ecosystem on there, loads of different resources, and we see sort of the benefits of a hybrid service provision going forward. So short and sweet for me really. If you do need any support on the business side of things, you can contact me or Shan as well in the office on the details on the screen. But that's me. If you have any questions, happy to answer them, or otherwise I think it might be a good time to go make a cup of tea and pop back. I've managed to fill 10 minutes, but that's enough for me, I think.
Hello. Welcome back. Sorry, but it took slightly longer than anticipated. So Sarah's PowerPoint was finished as I'm panicking. So we have decided the ones who we will have further discussions with. Firstly, we want to say, as you all saw, what a high quality all of the presentations were. And everyone has come up with such different ideas as well, which is great. So first of all, we'd very much like to thank you all for putting yourselves out there, putting your ideas forward and sharing those with you, without which we wouldn't have this event today. So diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you for taking the time to do this. There's 4 ideas or 4 people we would like to speak to and that we'll be taking further. So what we'll do now is we'll tell you who those people are, and then once this event is finished, we're going to meet with our partners, as we discussed, to discuss the feasibility and how much we'll be offering to each one and how we want those discussions to continue. So what we'll do is we'll get in touch via email with the ones who we want to go through and continue those discussions after. So the people who we would like to say hello on today are Robin Wynn, congratulations. Lee and Daniel with Baclirwyn. Rhydian with a big Albotlon, and I like the name. And finally, Gary Smith. So I'm going to get that. Well done to all of you. If your idea didn't go through, don't worry. It wasn't a bad idea. It just didn't quite meet the criteria for this occasion. But we do hope that you can join us for further hacks. Next month, we are doing the Welsh Health Hack again. You might have remembered we did that back in May. It's a very similar style. We'll have people pitching their problems, which will be in the health and care sector, and we'll be looking for people pitching solutions. So I would encourage everyone today to go on our social media and check out links for that coming soon, and join in with that as well, because the innovation we've seen today is brilliant. So diolch yn fawr iawn. Any words from my colleagues here?
Yeah, just also I'll second Emily's thanks from Northwest Police. I really enjoyed watching all the pictures. They were very, very good, very high quality, and plenty of stuff as a police officer I've never thought of before. So thank you very much for giving your time and expertise into the event.
Brilliant. Lovely. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you. So those of you we've named, we will be in touch with you shortly. And everyone else, please keep innovating and please come to our next events. We'd love to see what you're working with. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Zoom wave.
Zoom wave.